everybody, it's Chris and welcome back to He Works Hard for the Honey. I wanted to start us off from the very beginning with the hive closed, as this is going to be our first time kind of taking off the lid since we put the honey boxes on. I'm not particularly optimistic that there's going to be honey, certainly not capped honey at this point. But I did want to check on their progress. I also wanted to start with Hive 1 this week, where we marked the queen last week. We're going to check on that. I'm going to try to get some shots and show you what a difference it makes trying to eyeball her in a group of 30 or 40,000 bees. Right. Start by pulling the roof off here. And there are some bees up here fanning to keep things cool. I'm going to put them down in front. And we're just going to pull a couple of frames here. Now, as always, the bees kind of work from the middle out. So I'm going to start in the middle. I am hoping there's at least going to be some wax, and it looks like not. Well, better luck next time. And I'm wondering if that doesn't have anything to do with the fact that I was very embarrassed after realizing, oh yeah, they've really booked this down, that these which are hanging over these parts of the queen excluder, that's actually because when I bought this last year when I started, I had walked into a store and apparently bought a 10 frame queen excluder, which I'm told is not a big deal. And maybe I'm vain. It looks a little unsightly to me. So I'm going to aim those right at my legs. Take this off. And you can see there's a fair bit of propolis they use to hold it down, and some wax comb, which is a good sign that they've been working in there at least somewhat. And going to use an 8 frame queen excluder, which is going to give a closed edge, so it's going to be less drafty in there. And in the meantime, I had a good fire going here, and there it is. There it is. I'm going to drop some smoke on these ladies. And you'll notice, going forward, we're only going to be doing hive maintenance on one hive per week. You know, there's a very varying thought process on how often you should be in the hive, because every time we smoke the bees, it sort of stunts their hive growth. I've mentioned before, when bees smell smoke, historically they live in trees. Their reaction is to pull up as much resources as they possibly can in anticipation of having to move to avoid, wow, holy, I'm going to stop my thought there and just come over to show you. This is what we're hoping for in future honey frames. It actually cracked a little when I took it away from the wall. That is completely capped honey right there. And that being the last frame out means that they have pretty much completely filled these two boxes with resources, which is a fantastic thing. I'm looking in here, I see capped honey. I see capped honey. And I'm going to take this one out and see. My recollection is that last week this one had some honey around the corners, but was largely brood. And I think this may have even been the frame that we found the queen on last week. I was correct, we do have brood here. And really a full frame of bees. And let me just turn this over. And I'm trying to see if we have eggs in here. I do see a bunch of queen cells. Not with any eggs in them though, so I'm gonna tear these out quickly. And that's part of the reason we come in here and do some of this work is to prevent the colony from requeening and then that causing a swarm. And wow, I'm almost worried just how many queen cells there are. All right, these ladies can interesting so far. I'm looking, I don't see eggs in here. But it does look like there is all right, I'm gonna throw up a little smoke. Just like last year's Hive 2, these native Maine bees kind of let me know when they're done with me. Okay, I do see eggs, I do see brood. So we are very much in good shape as far as having a healthy queen. Watch this, she's going to be in one of the lower boxes now that I've marked her. All right. And it may be putting it over here so we may get a picture down into some of these cells. And I don't know how much you'll be able to see from this angle, but there's brood and eggs in the bottom of those cells. With nurse bees feeding them. When they reach a certain age, the nurse bees will cap those over. Like there are a few in there that are capped. And they'll finish up. Oh, good. We've actually got a healthy pattern there. And if nobody minds, and while I'm on this side of the hive, I'm gonna tuck my shirt in. It's one way I try to make sure that bees don't get up my shirt and sting my back and stomach. Excellent. And now we're going to continue on. After just a little bit of smoke, between the frames. All right. And then let's continue on. I do want to get a shot of our marked queen here. I see a bee chewing through its cap, coming into the world, which is always fun. We're witnessing bee birth, as it were. And I'm talking about, I just hit him. Right here, there's a little bit chewed out. Again, there are some queen cells hanging off the bottom on both sides. We're going to take those out so as not to cause a swarm and lose a good deal of our workers here. And then we're going to put this back. Great deal of eggs. This is a really healthy frame. healthy laying pattern here. Looks like we've got a lot of bees about to break out. And like I said in the beginning, I am guessing bees do this strange thing where they sort of hold on to each other. You can see down the bottom corners here. There's a word for it that I'm just not recalling at the moment, but it's just I think the strangest phenomena. We want to be careful not to smoke the bees too often, or too much in a single session, as it then becomes less effective. But sometimes it feels like somebody yelled attack and 20 of them take to the air. And I just had a moment like that when I came around the hive. This one's feeling heavy, so I'm guessing there's a great deal of honey in here, which there is. It's a beautiful thing. I see lots of large larvae on here. Larva, which is very different than lava. And quite the same over here. There's a great deal of honey around a lot of capped or very large larvae. And now I'm not anticipating that we're going to run into our queen on this last frame. That's usually just resources, but it never hurts to look. Very good, very good. I will say, each time I've come by both of my hives this year, and this is feeling really heavy, and so I do sort of imagine that there's just honey in here, which is much, much heavier than brood. Yeah, once again, I sort of cracked some of the closed cells, and this whole thing, as you can see, is just a sheet of capped honey. This frame is pretty heavy. All right. Really going to turn this around is that sometimes tricks the bees into filling it because they think they have more space going out towards the wall. And I'm going to put these bees back in here. Try to correct our space a little bit, give them enough room so they'll stop building against the wall. And then we're going to go down to box 2. and continue the search for our queen. All right. I'm going to put this box to the side here. Just going to take a little bit of prying. All right, and it looked like there had been some comb sort of created in between the frames. So when I lifted it, what we've ended up with, and you can see right here, these were capped larvae. I'm having a hard time seeing if you're actually seeing that. And the bees are actually starting to dispose of them already, which is a good indication of hygienic behavior. Again, there had been a lot of queen cells up on the top frames. Wondering if there isn't some potential that there were some in between the frames. And by moving that top box, we've now disrupted their requeening. And yeah, there is a great deal. And they are not too pleased with me. I try to leave the wax along the front there. Let's continue on our little quest here to find the queen. Side, except we do have another cup here. Looks like no egg laid in it. I'd be more concerned if I didn't know for certain that there is a queen in this hive, because I've seen eggs, I've seen very young brood. You know, even that little red dot we put on her will sometimes be difficult to see down when she's covered. Ooh, I didn't get stung on my leg, but I think I just had a close call. I've got a field of very young larvae, which is a good indication that the queen may be on this frame or the next. I see a great deal of eggs on this one as well, with a lot of kept brood and a lot of pollen, which is a great sign. Pollen, of course, is the bee's protein source, and so they need that for development. Wow, and I don't know if you can really tell. I don't want to jinx myself. I think I've gotten a great deal better at putting my gear on this year and much more careful, but these ladies are just not happy with my intrusion. And in fact, I am gonna I'm out. Or at least it seems that way. All right, we're gonna have to edit that part out and continue on our way here. Great deal of pollen, if you can tell that big yellow and orange area to the left. Again, a fantastic sign that the foragers are bringing back a lot of resources. Well, I hope we find our lady queen soon. So that I can close this up, get all these bees off of me. I don't even want to think about how many times my sweater and gloves have been stung. And I hope that I can continue not getting stung on my legs. Of course, now that I've said that, I imagine my streak is over. get to show you guys how easy it was to find a queen when she's marked. But sometimes that's just the way it goes. I'm going to take maybe these last 2 frames just to check. Boy, despite the fact that I'm really worried about getting stuck on my legs, I'm also glad I didn't wear pants today. Just given the temperature. Alright, now I have an ant walking up my leg. That's just torture. Take one last look here for our queen. And again, we're getting so close to the edge here that most of this frame is going to be honey. And it looks like all honey and pollen. So I am, boy, despite how excited I was to mark our queen, and again, you can see right here, we've ripped through a little bit, and there's some open honey dripping. All right, I'm going to close this up here. We're going to put the honey boxes back on. And we're gonna have to wait till the next time to see the marked queen. You know, despite the fact, and that's why I mark her, is despite even that we have that we've marked her, and she should be easy to find. With this going on here, she's just not sometimes. And it is important to put some eyeballs on her every few weeks to make sure that she's healthy and vital, and trying to make sure that the space is right here. Alright, I'm going to stick this out here so they can sort of scoop up all of that honey without me crushing them. And I'll do the same thing with this wax here. This is going to be tricky to do without smoke. But we're going to put the top box back on. Gently. Although unfortunately there's always a crunch. We're going to put our new 8-frame queen excluder up here, gently, and we can do this a little more gently than we did with the box. And I'm sorry to have my backs to you guys for so long. Alright, I think we killed a minimal number of bees in this process. At least up here. Alright. And now we're going to continue on with the honey frame that had previously been on here. Ladies, please. Please, help. And it actually encourages them when they have more rum and not less. And so we're going to put these other honey frames that I've just finished pinning in. Try to. And put the lid on. And our hope is that the next time we get in here, that we're going to have some capped honey. And that should be in about 2 weeks. Thanks for joining us at He Works Hard for the Honey. I hope you guys will join us next week as we do the same thing in Hive 2. Although that was the queen that elusively escaped. And so hopefully we'll be able to find and mark her as we do all the work you just saw. Have a good one. We look forward to seeing you then.